Hi guys, it's just about 4:40 Eastern. It's just about 3:40 Central on this Monday, October 15th, 2012. I'm Stephen Boyle. So, I am going to be, doing these weather updates more frequently now, especially since we're starting to get into the winter season. And, I'm not doing the live video chats anymore because, first of all, they're crashing my computer and they're causing me some major issues. Second of all, I am doing a video or a chat in a chat room with a NOAA meteorologist. His name is Mike Anderson. And, I rather do that because I can talk with you guys personally and, if you have questions, you can ask me verbally, and you can also ask a meteorologist himself. And it's sort of I like interacting with you guys a little bit more. So that's a little bit better to do. I find that a little bit more efficient. So again, if you're interested, I would be more than happy to give the links and directions to that. And actually, when we get major storm systems this upcoming winter, there will be several meteorologists in there. More meteorologists from NOAA. There will also be meteorologists from AccuWeather and things like this. So, or actually past AccuWeather, meteorologists. But even still, these people are all professional meteorologists. So again, that's again very good information. And you'll be able to access it. So again, if you're interested, just send me a message through YouTube, and like I said, I will be more than happy to give you those links. All right, moving on. What am I going to be talking about today? Well, there's a lot I'm going to be actually talking about. The first thing I'm going to be talking about is Raphael in the Atlantic. Where is he going to go? And how strong is he going to get? That's the first thing we're going to talk about. Secondly, we'll talk a little bit about this these winds in the northern plains and the northern Rockies. We'll tell you how strong they're going to get. This is all ahead of a very strong low pressure, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll also tell you if there's going to be any precipitation and things like this. Also, we're going to be talking a little bit about the rain on the East Coast, and we'll give you a little bit of an insight on that and why that's happening, and if we will see this warm weather sticking around. And actually, we'll go more in depth about the warm weather when we talk about the models, which is what we'll do after we talk about the rain. We'll be looking at the NAM, the Canadian, and the GFS. We'll tell you if what's going to be going on over the course of the next couple of weeks. We'll tell you if there's going to be a massive warm up or if that's just a bunch of bogus. We'll tell you we'll give you the general rundown. We'll also, after that, we look at a possible another tropical system forming, and also a possible historical event that could be occurring somewhere on the East Coast, or if not the whole East Coast, by either the end of the month or the beginning of November. And you'll get a little bit of an understanding as we get towards the end of this video. So that is the situation. So let's start off with Raphael. All right, that is the first thing on our list. And overall, Raphael right now is a strong tropical storm. His sustained winds are 70 miles an hour. Gusts, I imagine, up to 75, 80 miles an hour, maybe even 85. I haven't really looked too much into Raphael because, well, he's not really expected to hit land at this particular time. The only area that he is expected to maybe affect is Bermuda. Other than that, the east coast of the United States is not anticipating a major impact from this. So overall, I would say it's kind of more on the interesting side because we're going to have a hurricane in the Atlantic in the middle of October. But other than that, there's nothing really much going on in the Atlantic right now. All right, so so now we're moving on to the second thing on our list about the winds ahead of a very strong low pressure system that will be occurring here into the northern Rockies and the northern plains. So how strong are these winds going to get? Well, in this high wind warning area, into some of the very high ridge tops and mountain passes, we could be talking about winds gusting up to 85 miles an hour or more, with sustained winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour. So we'll be watching out for that as we move through time, especially into this area in here. And then, of course, you have these other little areas of high wind watches. Overall, most of these areas will be seeing generally winds sustained at 30 to 40 miles an hour, maybe a 50 mile an hour sustained wind. But overall, and again, in the higher ridge tops, they will be seeing possibly 50 to 60 mile an hour sustained winds, with winds gusting up to 75 miles an hour. But overall, there is not going to be a lot of severe winds into these areas. Just very windy. The severe winds will generally be into these areas of Montana and maybe into these regions of Wyoming, where there's some pretty high, like I said, some very high mountain tops, and that's really where the strongest winds will occur. Alright, so let's move to the third thing on our list, and that is the storm system out in the northeast that is impacting us with some rains. Currently we have some very strong rains that is starting to impact the Hudson River Valley and portions of New Jersey and the Philadelphia area. And this is as of 4:45, so probably within the next hour or so, when you'll actually be seeing this, around 5 or 6 o'clock, this massive area of rain will probably be more closer to here. So we'll probably be talking about it being into parts of the Hudson River Valley, parts of western Massachusetts, parts of southern Vermont, because that's generally where this massive blob of rain is moving. So what's causing this? Well, we actually have a secondary low pressure that formed here. And this is actually sort of together with the major low pressure out in Canada. This major low pressure that we have out in Canada and that spawned off this secondary low pressure is actually the low pressure system that caused the rains into parts of Michigan. So essentially, if you want to sort of look at it, these two are sort of together, okay? And overall, this is expected to move north and eastward. And as this happens, behind that area of low pressure, you're going to see cooler air pouring down from Canada tomorrow. So it's definitely not going to be as warm as today. And you'll see that in the models. But overall, expect some very heavy rain. You may see some localized flooding, especially into some of these very massive areas of heavy rain, like into portions of northwestern New Jersey, portions of the Philadelphia area. So again, just be careful. And again, this will continue to work its way north and eastward through the rest of the evening. Alright, so that's what's going on. So now let's move to the fourth thing on our list, which is the models. So we're starting off with the NAM here. And as you can see, there is that heavy rain that moves through the east. And again, there is that colder air behind that low pressure system. So overall, behind this low pressure system, I do anticipate a cool down. I do not anticipate a warm day tomorrow. And actually, there is the actual cool down that we will see tomorrow. This is the actual low pressure system that is affecting us today. And like I said, there is that flow from Canada. There could be some areas of New England, I would say particularly western portions of Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and interior portions of Maine, western interior portions of Maine, and northern New York may see some frosts tomorrow night. We'll see about that, but it's definitely a possibility at this time. And then as we move through, you see this next system, and this is the system that's going to be causing the major winds. And actually, it's already starting to briefly happen. Well, no, actually, it'll start on Wednesday. I'm sorry about that. Wednesday is when these winds will start picking up. Tuesday night, tomorrow night into Wednesday, and these will continue through Wednesday night on into Thursday. Now, Thursday, it'll be the most intense into these areas. So we'll be talking about portions of North Dakota, South Dakota, and Montana. But again, it'll be tomorrow night. It'll be tomorrow night into Wednesday when it impacts these areas of Montana. And again, this is a broad area of low pressure, and there may actually be two centers in this, but we'll see what happens. But overall, it's looking like this will be eventually impacting the East Coast with some rain. So here is the Canadian model, and there is that secondary low pressure system. It forms right, you can see there it is right there. And eventually what happens is all of these low pressure systems kind of form into one major low pressure system tomorrow. And it's behind us that we get the very intense cold air. And again, don't be surprised, especially if you live in western portions of Massachusetts, up into portions of New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, northern New York. Don't be surprised if you see some frosts tomorrow night. Again, we've already had a killing frost, but just in case you brought the plants back out. Here is that massive area of low pressure that is essentially anticipating to drop down and bring in more cooler air. And again, there is some rain associated with that low pressure system. Maybe some areas picking up some rain in northern New England as this low pressure exits. But the general thing I want you guys to see is notice how we have a trough. Notice how we have a trough in the east, and we sort of have a somewhat of a ridge in the west. But overall, there's a downstream, which is down this way. When we say downstream, like that will be eventually coming, there is some cooler air that is going to be on our doorstep, and actually you can sort of see as the model continues. We may have a brief warm-up, but again, it's going to be seasonable, not this massive warm-up that some of these weather outlets are indicating. There is that secondary low pressure. This is the GFS model that moves out. Again, maybe some frosts tomorrow night. We'll see what happens. And then there's that massive area of low pressure. A massive trough building in the east by around next Saturday. And then, well, not a massive. This is like seasonably cool. And then, of course, you see this front moving through. And this is going to really set out the stage. And this is going to be the first of a series of major fronts that will be moving through. And what I essentially want everyone to notice here is around this time, all right, notice this massive trough that we have, all right, and this is like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg, folks, all right. We would be talking about frosts all the way down to Texas, southern Texas, all right. We would also be talking about frosts, definitely massive. We would probably be talking about hard freezes through Tennessee, through Oklahoma, portions of North Carolina, portions of Virginia, Actually, all of Virginia would be seeing a frost there. So we would be talking about massive cold coming down from Canada. This wouldn't be necessarily record-breaking. However, some areas, particularly down into these areas, would probably be breaking a few records or some records. But in here, this wouldn't be record-breaking. It would be cold, and it would be below average, but we wouldn't be talking about massive record-breaking stuff here. But again, this is a flow from Canada. All right, now, what happens is we sort of see this trough backing off a little bit. But downstream, there is a massive, massive trough coming in. And this is not only being indicated by the GFS, which I'm showing you right now, but this is being indicated by all the other models. All right. Now, what's interesting, this is where things could get a little historical. And I'm going to sort of show you, this is where we get kind of a blend of two types of weather. We get a blend of tropical weather and a blend of winter weather. Okay. Now, here is the situation. If you notice, by around the 31st, and I was talking to Mike the other last night about this, and this is really where I'm starting to get the idea from, and now that I'm actually seeing it myself, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue. So, just want to show you, okay? Just want to show you. This is massive cold air, all right? Just want to put that out. We have this tropical storm or hurricane. I don't know what it is. It's between a tropical storm to a hurricane at this particular point. And we have this very intense trough crashing to the coast. All right. Now, if this trough was here and we had the system here, then maybe I would say, maybe it would just be a rain event. But notice how this trough is essentially right practically close to the coast. I would say probably within 100 miles of the coast. Okay? And this storm is going to actually start moving a little bit more slowly as it works its way, probably around to North Carolina. Now, here is where things get interesting. All right? If you watch my Winter Outlook video, I mentioned how there was an anomaly in here. Okay? And this storm system would be definitely moving over that anomaly. Second of all, notice how intense, and I cannot stress this enough. Notice how intense this trough is. And just to show you, all right, just so you understand how intense this trough is, at 850 millibars, we have negative 15 degrees Celsius temperatures. So what does that translate at the surface? Well, at the surface, we're talking about maybe teens and 20s into portions of the Arrowhead of Minnesota and into parts of Wisconsin. That is how intense this cold is. This is an Arctic blast. Okay? Now, you have this you have this tropical system, and you have like I said, we have a trough. This is most likely going to be pulled in by this trough, and when this happens, we have a QPF in here. All right, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. The QPF is high, which is essentially the amount of water, whether it's frozen or liquid, from the sky, and of course down here in Florida, I mean, obviously it's going to be liquid. The QPF down here is very high, and QPF with tropical systems are high. All right. If this trough, which it's almost likely, I can almost say it's very likely that this trough is going to crash to the coast, we would be talking about a very strong snowstorm that would be impacting the Northeast by the beginning of November. It's a definite possibility at this particular point. I was sort of correlating this with Mike last night, and NOAA gets their models about definitely well before before the actual public. And he was seeing this last night. What I'm seeing now, and he's thinking that this could be a very intense snow system that brings in some very, very intense stuff. And not only that, okay, not only the snow would it be what would be breaking the records, it would be this cold that we have. Notice how cold this stuff is. All right, so this is extreme. Okay, and I'm going to show you with the European model that it's not only the GFS that is indicating this, the European is also online with this. Okay, so here is the GFS around that time. Now, this is a tropical model. Now, notice how we have a trough into these areas of the country. This is around the 25th of October. All right, and this is where we start seeing the low pressure start to develop. Okay. And there you go. There it starts to develop. All right. Notice how we get a more well-defined core center. All right. And look at how it really intensifies, and then it gets brought up. And as this trough continues to continue to go down, this system is continuing to ride northward. Okay. Now, that is the GFS. Now, what about in terms of the Canadian? Now, the Canadian isn't going to really show you this storm system. There's a storm. There's the storm system. There is that intense trough. All right. Now, this is at the Now, this is at the end. All right. This is as far as it goes out at this particular point. All right. But if you sort of reason it out, obviously, this trough is going to come in more. Okay. Now, where this goes, okay, there's been some speculation whether it's going to come like this and then come up, or whether it goes like this and then come up. But the reason why it's definitely going to come up the East Coast is because of this trough. This trough, and again, also the blocking that we are seeing in Greenland. All of this together is going to combine for a storm system that will most likely be riding up the coast and moving through the Bahamas. You may not believe me at this particular point, all right? And I may be wrong. Definitely. I may be wrong about this storm system. Whether it'll be, I may be wrong that it's going to be a historical storm. I may be wrong that there's going to be historical cold. And I may be wrong that this is going to be a snow event. But what I want everyone to just note here is just make sure you keep tabs on this. Okay, whether it's with me, whether it's with your local weather, keep tabs on it. Okay, and just be careful, because again, this could be a pretty massive system, and that's what the models are indicating at this point. So we'll see what happens. So before we move on, I'm actually going to update this here. Let's look at the GFS ensembles at this particular point, and this is the last thing that we're going to look at. And there's this broad area of low pressure that is moving through the east. Again, by the middle part of this week, by about Friday, the end of this week. Again, overall, we're going to be talking a little bit about some very windy stuff or cooler conditions. Definitely a trough will be forming, a seasonable trough, not a major trough. And then, of course, you can sort of see how we get, it looks like by about, we could be even talking about some very cold weather coming in here by about Wednesday the 24th. We'll see what happens with that. I mean, overall, it's generally the same thing. I mean, if you look here, most of the models, most of the GF ensembles right now are indicating a tropical system forming. Let's just look and see how many of these ensembles have a tropical system around the Bahamas or around Florida. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So far 6, 7. 7 of the 12. There is 7 out of 12 that are indicating that there's going to be a tropical system in and around the Florida area or in and around the Bahamas. That's a lot for 360 hours out. All right, now this one has it starting to move north and eastward towards the, and this one also has it starting to move towards the northeast. And by hour 384, you see that this one sort of moves out. You can sort of see that this one has the storm practically almost in New England. You can see that this storm is right in closer to New England. You can see this storm is right in closer to New England. I mean, it's all there. It's all there. So that is the situation, folks. All right, that is the situation. And I mean, once this massive air comes southward, this massive cold air, I mean, there may be little increases in temperature here and there, but don't expect a major spike in temperature. Once this cold air comes in, I think we can generally say it's in overall. So that is what it's looking like at this particular point when it comes in terms of the models and everything else. You know, I hope you all have a, I hope you all continue to looking at my updates, as of course I will be updating this forecast as time moves onward. But you know, definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, have a great rest of your Monday, everyone, and I will be back tomorrow or hopefully sometime this week with another update. Take care, everyone.